Springfield's Talk 1041, and welcome to the show, everyone. It is Monday morning. My name is Nick Reed. As always, streaming live all over the place, the internet, the app, KSGF.com. We are also up and running video stream on YouTube. If you search Springfield's Talk 1041, you can find us there. You'll see me. You will see Sarah. And that's pretty much all that needs to be seen.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's it. That's all. All right. I guess should we start? Hey, Friday there was a news item that was like, oh my gosh, this is the biggest news item ever. And now it's like, I don't even know if it's worth talking about the racist monkey video that Trump posted. I love watching intellectual people of color talk about this stuff. See, if you're on the left, you are cut off from diversity of perspective when it comes to your social media because you only tend to follow or show interest in an echo chamber, what validates your belief system. And so that really screws up your worldview of what is going on. Now, people who aren't on the left generally get a pretty wide spectrum of perspectives because, the left is unavoidable. The media carries the left. Social media, obviously, it's relatively unavoidable there. I mean, you have to go to great lengths to really insulate yourself from it. I mean, just the news, pop culture, it dominates everywhere. And so people that are on the right have a good sampling of the spectrum of perspectives. And so, I saw a number of individuals, Black Americans, that were posting videos about this video and saying, well, when I first heard it, I was like, this is crazy. And then I learned what actually it was about. And that is, what happens when you try and learn about what the truth is. And so for those of you that don't know, I think it was Friday. Was it Friday afternoon? I think sometime Friday. Donald Trump posted a video of Barack and Michelle Obama as monkeys. Clearly a racist. Oh, and then social media was lit up with people. I mean, just people on the left. You got to understand how the rest of us recognize you. You never have any interest in, okay, well, let's see what this is actually about. I mean, straight out of the gate. And it's almost as if the left has, they share a form letter or a form posting where you can plug in a couple of your own words to customize it because they were all virtually the same. Well, finally proof, now it's undeniable that Donald Trump is racist. And if you still can't admit it, then you are part of the problem and you can unfriend me right now. This is just absolutely vile and disgusting. My first thought was what any intelligent person's first thought is, all right, well, let's see exactly what is going on here. And of course, while it's a situation that clearly is a real, you smack yourself in the head and oh, Jiminy Christmas. Just, the problem with being the Trump administration is even when you're absolutely perfect, they will still find things that they can twist to make you look bad. And so on one hand, there is a level, I think, of frustration, even when it's just sort of a goof and a mistake and not intended the way that it's being presented, to be frustrated and to have the reaction of why do they keep giving the left these opportunities to pounce on them? But then you realize it doesn't matter what they do. It makes no difference whatsoever. I mean, for example, Elizabeth Warren's out there bitching about the fact that Donald Trump got all of these prescription drug prices lowered. She's figured out a way to complain about that. I mean, it makes no difference what is done. So I'll explain. If you may have seen this and just thought, ugh, I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want to know it's Friday. I'll explain what it is and why it is that you're not really probably going to hear much about it. I think it's done its cycle already, and plus there's always new reasons to be outraged anyhow. We've got the Super Bowl, the halftime show, the Olympics, and this insistence by oftentimes American media for these athletes to publicly declare. It's a loyalty test that we increasingly see from the left. It is where they take people who suddenly have a worldwide platform, they put a microphone in their face, and then they ask them political questions. And this isn't done out of some sort of intellectual curiosity. Like, the world just is really very interested here. All of a sudden, people, the world and the American people that are tuning in to watch athletes in their prime try to be the best in the world, and clearly they're at the same time interested in their geopolitical thoughts on the issues of the day. That's not why it's done. It's a public loyalty test. Whether you are on the side of good or evil. And if you are on the side of evil, that would be Trump, that would be Republican. It needs to be known. The world needs to know who you are. And so it's an opportunity for you to declare, no, I'm one of the good guys, to prove your loyalty to the, quote, good side. And for a political party that loves to scream fascism, the fact that they have become so not just comfortable, but it's obligatory to have these public loyalty test declarations that they force people into, it begins to make you think maybe they don't really know what the term fascism actually means. Weather in a moment, beautiful day ahead. First, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 74. Tonight mostly clear with a low around 49. For your Tuesday, cloudy skies with a high near 68. And taking a look at Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high near 58.
Did you Sarah, look into when you heard the apoplectic reaction of Donald Trump? He's sitting around making monkey videos of the Obamas. Did you look into it any?
I watched a little bit of
Wait,
it.
so here's what this is. Like out of the gate, I see this outrage, and so this is Friday, and it's proof that they're just so racist. Now, mind you, this is while Democrat activists are out in the streets calling ICE agents that are black the N-word repetitively, and they're also using racial slurs against Hispanics that are members of ICE. Suddenly, now that using the N-word in a threatening manner towards black ICE agents by Democrat activists. Now, that's okay. Well, because, that's what they are, according to the left. But if there is a cartoon video of the Obamas as goofy monkeys, now that is just too far. So I find a story, and I'm like, well, okay, I want to see what this actually is. And I clicked to start the video, and it's a video about voter fraud. And so I thought, oh, well, it must just have accidentally, when they posted it for the story, posted it to the wrong video. So I found the original posting on an Instagram page and it was the same thing. And I'm like, well, maybe they got some removed and replaced because of everybody screaming about it. And so I thought, well, I'll worry about it later. This Friday afternoon. Well, then I learned that was the video, and what had occurred, and catch you up for those that don't know. Several years ago, there was a cartoon video that was made, and it was Lion King themed, and it had the Lion King music, and it was Donald Trump as his face on the lion, and he's all majestically going through the jungle, and while the Lion King music is playing, it's a number of all sorts of elected officials as different animals. You've got Adam Schiff was one of I think he was a giraffe, which makes sense because of the long neck, I suppose. Joe Biden was a monkey eating a banana. The Bidens were, I don't know if they were monkeys or gorilla or whatever, so, some sort of monkey. And I think Nancy Pelosi was in there as some sort of animal. And so the whole thing is the Lion King theme, and it's all about, the actual king of the jungle. All these other animals are goofy, but the true king of the jungle is Donald Trump. And this was a video from years ago. So someone posted, it was a 60-second, I guess it was like a promo or ad, something to do with voter fraud. And at the end of it, whatever platform they were watching, auto-rolled into that video. And the beginning of that video is the Obama part. And they did not get it completely cut off. When they were editing it, it had like 1 or 2 seconds of the beginning of the Lion King video, which again was specifically the Obama part. And that was posted, and then the I don't know if it was the White House's side or Trump's, shared the video about the voter fraud. And again, whomever originated it just didn't get the video, they didn't get the very beginning of the subsequent auto roll video cut off from the Lion King thing. So that's what it was. Now, part of, the immediate reaction of the White House was, some may argue ill-advised and just, railing against fake outrage. And, of course, you did have, and this is part of the problem, some Republicans that immediately began acting like Donald Trump created some video specifically to paint the Obamas as monkeys and decided to put it out there. You had some Republicans acting that way. Which, frankly, is what so many Americans are just so tired of this pounce, 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 and tired of Republicans that are such lapdogs of Democrat outrage that anytime Democrats express some sort of outrage, they respond as if, well, we need to do the same thing lest we look bad. It's that sort of patheticness it's just gross for a lot of voters. And the righteous indignation, and it becomes exhausting. Now, I do think that there's a lesson to be learned here, and it is if you're going to post a video, and here's a 60-second video discussing voter fraud, make sure that you watch second 61 and 62. Watch it in its entirety, in case whomever posted it failed to edit off the first 2 seconds of the auto reel that was coming next. In a mature intellectual society, one should not have to worry about that sort of thing. However, that's not the society that we live in. And so when posting a video that is supposed to be about, informational purposes, about the seriousness of our elections and the dangers of election fraud, you have to recognize that you got a bunch of, screaming toddlers out there that don't actually care about having any sort of intellectual debate, but just look for any little thing that they can, use in order to attack you and distract you from what actual intelligent people want to have discussions on. This is also an example of how, and particularly on the left, but a lot of, your establishment Republicans as well. There is this lack of measured response. Once upon a time, as a society, when something would get posted and portrayed, as we've learned inaccurately, as it was, that the President of the United States, he made a video and he posted it. The first thing people will go is, well, I have to find out exactly what's going on here. 90% of people don't do that any longer. Now, Trump supporters disproportionately do that because he, for a couple of reasons. One, he is the target of the misinformation. But also because Trump supporters have become very accustomed to the disinformation campaigns in which, look, Trump finally did it. He did the single worst thing ever. Oh, my God, there's no way you can back away from this, only to learn that, oh, well, wait, that's not the actual story. And so, rightfully so, Trump supporters are much more likely to say, okay, well, wait a minute, let's figure out what's going on here. But even outside of that, the proper response to something like this is, after you learn all the information, you recognize the complete overreaction and disinformation about it, but you're like, hey, okay, we understand. But clearly, in a 61.5-second video, the 60 seconds of it about voter fraud was the intended information, and whomever originally, spliced it up and edited it, they didn't catch the first second and a half of the follow-up, auto reel or auto roll of the reel that was from a Lion King cartoon parody from years ago, and it had the Obamas, unfortunately, as monkeys, which other, Biden was also one in there, but nonetheless. And yeah, it's really kind of an unfortunate thing, but, lesson learned. Before we post any video, we'll watch it from absolute beginning to absolute end to make sure nothing erroneously gets in there. And then that is the reasonable response. And reasonable people go, yeah, maybe a lesson for all of us. Because probably a significant portion of the population has forwarded a video to someone before without watching it its entirety, and there may have been something offensive on it, like, oh my gosh, I didn't know, I didn't watch all of it. Lesson for us all to be learned. That is the mature response. What is not the mature response is what we saw on Friday, but again, driven by the left and spineless elite establishment Republicans. We unfortunately don't get the mature, intellectual, measured responses in a day and age nearly as often as we did once upon a time. Tax refund time for a lot of folks. Max your tax sales event, Pinnaker Honda. Get into a new 2026 Honda HR-V for as low as $299 a month. You can check out the brand new 2026 Honda Prelude. That is hybrid, which to me is that's certainly the way to go if you're interested in mileage, as opposed to simply worrying about plugging it in, finding a plug-in, doing the electric vehicle thing. It actually, with the hybrid, creates its own power as it drives along, so you aren't without fuel, the traditional gasoline. So those are available. The 26 Honda Civic Sedan LX you can lease for $199. But again, those that like to do the purchasing as low as $389 a month. The 26 Honda CR-V LX all-wheel drive and pickup truck, folks. 26 Ridgeline, 3.99% APR or $1,500 sales credit. And they always have going on incredible deals with pre-owned vehicles. The Certified Dream Deal sales event happening now with rates as low as 1.49%. Pinnaker Honda, South Campbell, just south of Walnut Lawn, also under Nick's endorsements at KSGF.com.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 74. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 49. For your Tuesday, cloudy with a high near 68. And for Wednesday, mostly sunny skies with a high near 58.
I want to mention one other component to this outrage that was expressed by the left over this entire disinformation campaign that Donald Trump was making monkey videos of the Obamas, which, of course, was nowhere even close to the truth as to what any of that was about. And if you missed any of the explanation as to what actually occurred, previous section, you can listen to in the podcast. But ultimately amounted to just, it was a video posted that had to do with election integrity, and then whomever recorded that for the purposes of posting their platform automatically rolled into an old cartoon parody video from The Lion King in which Donald Trump was the lion and Democrats were all different animals of the jungle, including Joe Biden as a monkey eating a banana. The Obamas were monkeys as well. And the editing of what was supposed to be just the election integrity video got like 2 seconds of the Lion King parody video from years ago. And then it was shared by the White House or Trump and so that's what all of that was about. It was much ado about nothing. But let me tell you the other part of this that is exhausting to a lot of us. Aside from the fake outrage and the mischaracterizing something in order to paint Trump as a racist. A lot of us, we have spent years and years and years listening to Democrats say racist things, push racist policies. The Democrat Party is the party of slavery. The Republican Party was born out of the idea that slavery should be abolished. The Republican Party was a third party at one point. And Democrats, the party of the Klan. Harry S. Truman was a member of the Klan. Hilariously, when this gets brought up, Democrats will defend it by saying, well, he wasn't an active member. He just, as a Democrat, had to be a member in order to have any credibility within the party. Not a great defense for the Democrat Party. Democrats, the party of segregation. It's the party that, interestingly enough, because of parallels today, refused to acknowledge federal laws that ordered integration to occur, much like we see the refusal to comply with ICE today, claiming that the feds don't have that authority. It's the same thing that the Democrats claimed in order to keep blacks out of the white kids' schools. Joe Biden himself was against busing because he claimed, these are his words, putting black kids in white kids' schools would turn the schools into, quote, jungles. This is a guy that Democrats overwhelmingly picked to be president of the United States. They defended a guy, Joe Biden, who, when Obama was running for president, explained in his assessment at the success of Barack Obama. When Obama was running for president, Biden said it was because he was the, quote, first mainstream African-American who was articulate, bright, and clean, end quote. Joe Biden. This wasn't in the 50s or 60s. This is when Obama was running for president. And in Joe Biden's assessment, there had never been a mainstream black man that was clean, that was bright? They were all just a bunch of dirty dummies running around the streets? We've watched a political party do everything they can to block school choice, which would allow the kids who are trapped in the worst schools in America, black kids, preventing their parents from putting them in better schools, which, God forbid, might be white schools. It is, again, Democrats blocking integration. These are their policies. They including over the weekend. In fact, we're going to talk about this next. Continue to be against photo ID based off their entire argument is that black people don't have the same intellectual capabilities of white people when it comes to the knowledge of how to get a photo ID. That is the entire premise for their argument. That for whatever reasons, they're never really pressed on this, whether it's genetic or otherwise, black people just don't have the smarts to do it like white people. And so a lot of us who push for legislation like school choice that will prevent kids from being trapped, black kids from being trapped into horrific schools, or we're against Planned Parenthood specifically targeting black neighborhoods to disproportionately thin out the black population, or support being tough on crime in the inner cities where blacks are disproportionately harmed? Which political party, for years has been screaming about black on black crime? And then when somebody like Donald Trump comes along and takes Washington, D.C., which was known as one of the most dangerous places in the United States and the civilized world, and turns it into a place where in January they only had one murder, whereas the previous January they had 10. And the fact that it is overwhelmingly black people who are the victims of that violence, and Democrats do everything they can to prevent those cleanups. I mean, we've played the audio, again, those of you on the left, because of your algorithms on social media. You don't see the black people posting videos on TikTok or Instagram that are in these cities, just blasting the Democrats and the elite white women on the left who live in their privileged little worlds of better education and safe communities, doing what they can to prevent Donald Trump or anyone from coming in and making it safer for the black community in this country. So those of you who are, I just want you to understand, again, this is primarily on the left. This is what some of us, we see all of these things happening. And you don't only sit silent, but you are supportive of the policies that have these results. But then you're outraged because of a video. A 2-second clip of a video that accidentally, erroneously got unedited off of a 60-second voter integrity video. And that's what you're outraged over? Are you serious? So for a lot of us, the eye rolling at your outrage over what you claim is some sort of proof of racism, knowing the things that you support, the party that you support, the policies that you insist continue to exist, that really have, in many instances, created a systemic form of racism against blacks in this country, you gotta understand why we roll our eyes when we see what you finally decide to be outraged over. You know, that and mascots. True priorities on display. Springfield's Talk 1041. I'm Nick Reed. Had a text message on the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line, and I was discussing, among other things, Joe Biden when he was talking about Barack Obama running for president, that as far as he knew, Obama was the first mainstream black man who was clean and articulate and bright. And someone texted in, wasn't it Harry Reid that said that? No, what Harry Reid, who was the leader of the Democrats in the Senate at the time, said of Barack Obama that one of the reasons he was appealing was because he was light-skinned and he, quote, lacked a Negro dialect unless he wanted one. What's hilarious about that question is the fact that Democrats, it's not difficult to find what are truly straight-up racist comments by Democrats that you can easily get them confused. I think that's so telling that, no, that was a different Democrat. Well, now, wait a minute. I thought Harry Reid was the recruiter for the Klan. No, that was a different Democrat. Yeah, I mean, you just go down the list of these people. Their policies are racist. They're what has been one of the lead arguments that the left has utilized when it comes to illegal immigration? I mean, you've heard it. Who's going to clean our toilets? Who's going to do our housekeeping? Who's going to do the jobs that, quote, we don't want to do? I mean, what is that? It's appalling. It should be appalling. And this is, again, why these people on the left, you have two categories. You have those, and that's who they are. And so when they gaslight and project and cry racism, I mean, we know that they're clearly, it's like the slave owner claiming that the abolition, those that were, opposed to slavery were the real racists. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, let's do that math. The rest of the left are useful idiots. And they really don't know this stuff. They're clueless. And it's the reason that the Democrat Party has shifted over the years from selling their ideas to good versus evil. We're good, they're evil. And if you buy into that, then you don't have to know the facts. You just know they're the bad guys. And so you can't listen to anything they say. In fact, don't even give them a platform. And the recipients who fall into that messaging, who believe that messaging, don't realize that you are being manipulated into not hearing other ideas because they fear you might start to ask questions. You might start to ask questions like, yeah, why is it when overwhelmingly inner city mothers of color are for school choice, but Democrats do everything they can to prevent it? Why is it that Planned Parenthood, an organization started by a woman who argued black people were inferior and needed to be cleansed out of our society, why is it to this day Planned Parenthood branches that perform abortions disproportionately plant themselves in black neighborhoods? So to prevent their followers from asking those questions and even knowing that those things occur, they just tell, oh, don't listen to those people. Those are bad people. They're the racists. They're racist. If you listen to them, then you might be a racist as well. And that is their vaccine against the truth. That's their vaccine treatment against the truth, to get the left lined up for that dosage of good versus evil, to protect them from any sort of outside information that might break through that bubble and get them in tune with what's really going on in the world. I want to share with you coming up some information about this. Well, actually, I'm going to shift some things around because we should have Congressman Burleson coming up, and the new tactic that the left is taking against photo ID is to claim that Donald Trump is trying to nationalize elections, which, of course, is hilarious because when Democrats most recently controlled Congress, they actually did try to do that. That's not what this is. And by the way, the Constitution is specific in what authority Congress does have, and this falls under it. So I was going to tackle that next, but I think I'll wait until after the conversation with Congressman Burleson, and Lord knows there's a lot of other stuff as well. So we'll get to all of that coming up. The Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line 447 KSGF. I'm Nick Reed. Regarding Democrats and their just brazen racism, one of the Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line messages coming in. Didn't Bill Clinton also say something about Obama along the lines of, if this were 30 years ago, he'd be serving us our drinks? Yes, he did say that. And it was in regard, I think it was some DNC speaking event or something. I mean, this is what the left thinks of people of color. This is what we know they think about illegals. Illegals to them are just today's version of slaves. And their arguments that they used in order to promote and defend slavery back during the 1800s are many of the exact same arguments they use in order to defend illegal immigration. Now, they have ulterior motives for the illegal immigration, but much of the argument is around economics. Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? White people won't do that. And the economic arguments that they used in order to defend slavery during the 1800s were the exact same arguments. The South's economy will collapse without slaves. No one will pick the cotton. It's cheap labor. If we have to pay people, white people, to do this, then the cost of cotton is going to skyrocket and people won't be able to afford it. It's the exact same arguments. And Democrat Jasmine Crockett just months ago even said, we're done being slaves. When she was talking about illegal immigrants, we're done picking the cotton. And that's why the country needs illegals to come in, because she's argued, black people, we were freed a long time ago. It's time for a new round of slaves. That's the Democrat Party. These are the same people that will put out in front of their yards the virtue signaling, signs about welcome here this, welcome here that, and they will parade themselves as being so virtuous when it comes to race, yet they, and I think a lot of them don't even know they do it. It's like the slave owner who is nicer than the other slave owners, and so they feel and project themselves as not being racist. Well, I treat my slaves real good. I take care of those that can't take care of themselves, those ignorant fools. They gotta have the white man's help. In fact, I've got an article about how increasingly the Hispanic community is telling these white women, these liberals, hey, you need to stop doing these. We don't need your help. Particularly about, let's see, where is it? But it's this white hero complex in which they demean the humanity of black people in their sort of righteous superhero. You need me to swoop in and take care of you. And that, again, was one of the arguments used in favor of slavery. That the black person can't take care of themselves without us as white people taking care of them. We'll get to it. There's an article, particularly about the whistleblowing. And there's a story about how some of the Hispanic groups out there are trying to get these white liberals, the women in particular, to stop the banging of pots and pans and the whistle. Like, you know what? I think we're okay. I think we don't need this. Do you know somebody tried to burn down Hotel of Terror?
No. When did this happen?
Saturday morning.
Oh my gosh.
There was a call, I guess I don't know if it was 911, and said, yeah, somebody's trying to burn down the Hotel of Terror. And so I think it was around 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning when fire responded, and somebody's been caught. They caught someone, and they're being held. They're being charged. Owner Sterling Mathis said he rushed to the building as soon as he heard about the incident. Quote, first thing, our alarm went off, so I pulled up the cameras to look, and I see fire trucks all around. This is KY3. The fire was extinguished by fire department personnel. A person of interest in custody as authorities investigate the incident. And again, I think I saw this morning, Ozarks First noting that the individual had been charged. Mathis said the damage was minor and limited to the outside of the building caused by an unknown man. Quote, I've never dealt with him before, but they took him to jail, and they're going to try and find out what's going on in his head to see why he would do something like this. The fire comes just 2 days before Mathis is set to turn in the signatures for his petition to keep the property. Mathis and the city have been, quote, negotiating for 6 years, but we've learned that the city of Springfield clearly not demonstrating good faith in that. It'll be interesting to see if this is somebody that was motivated in any way, shape, or form by the struggle that has been going on between the small business owner versus the government folks who run the city of Springfield, and this relentless effort to just crush this individual's business. And again, I think so much of it is a message to other small business owners that if you do business in Springfield, we are in charge. And if we want you to close up shop, so be it, you'll do it. And they really tried to demonstrate that during COVID. But I think this is, it's just a continuation of that. So whether the individual that tried to burn the place down has any connection to any of that debate whatsoever, or if it was just some, random nut job trying to burn down a building, I mean, those things do happen. We've got news coming up in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 1041. Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Nick Reed. Lori Rook joined us on Friday at Scramblers, and we were talking about what it is that, of course, she and all the folks at Ozarks Elder Law sees, and I had asked her, is there anything in particular that more than anything, you see people come in that are these completely unnecessary situations that are awful simply because, and I say unnecessary because just a little bit of proper paperwork ahead of time would have protected them. And it's no fault of, it's not a negligent situation. It's not like someone driving around without a driver's license, knowing that they should have a driver's license, or, you don't get your tags renewed, you're supposed to, and then you get in trouble for it. And that was unnecessary. There's just so many scenarios that we don't recognize in life in which government has laws set up that can screw you over. And she talked about specifically, she goes, in fact, we just saw this occur. Oftentimes people who are on Medicaid, they will have a loved one, a child that will come and move in with them and take care of them. And so then they will just, they'll pay them kind of an allowance or, or whatever the amount may be. And it isn't done as an official hire because it's family. It's your daughter. So here's $300 a week. And how that can really screw things up when it comes to the access to Medicare, because the government thinks that, oh, this person has the assets, but they're trying to hide it. They've been funneling dollars to their child privately, so it looks like they don't have enough money to cover it for themselves, and that can result in a lack of access to those funds. The remedy is just some paperwork to make the, and she said it's easy to fill out, but all it does is make it official. Yes, I'm paying this person to do this. And it's little things like that not knowing can completely alter what access your loved one or you have to some of those different programs. And so it's just one example of so much of what they do. So point is, consultation, visit with Ozarks Elder Law, 10 area locations, find out what you don't know, what you need to know. And again, it costs you nothing to learn that. And then they'll go through what you need to do in order to make sure that you're prepared for when you die, the will, who gets what, nursing home decisions, and just down the list of things you probably wouldn't even think of. And then they'll let you know ahead of time, here's what it'll cost to get it done. OzarksElderLaw.com, also under Nick's endorsements at KSGF.com. Latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 74. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 49. For your Tuesday, cloudy skies with a high near 68. And taking a look at Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high near 58.
Congressman Burleson joining us this morning. How do you do, sir?
Doing great. Good morning.
Morning to you. Hey, yes.
I'm passing a Hanson's truck right now
Oh,
on,
you're
on
no
the
kidding.
60 highway.
Yeah, yes, they certainly see them around. They've got that Brookline location there that I pass every morning, and sometimes when they have those huge mounds of mulch, and that can really create heat, and some of those cold mornings are just smoldering out of the top of them. Hey, I wanted to ask you if we could start off the SAVE Act, the photo ID requirement for elections, specifically for like U.S. Senate and the House of Representatives, and what I've seen characterized, and you can fill people on exactly what this looks like, but I've read it characterized as the House is, yeah, we need to do this, and the Senate, you've got Mitch McConnell, which according to the Federalist, they have a piece that suggests that almost out of spite, he wants this not to happen because he hates Trump so much, and that Thune is like,
Yeah.
well, we'll get around to it, and I know you're going to understand this and probably on the same page for an issue that has 83% of Americans behind it, and Republicans in the Senate still are not really moving forward in a manner that suggests they find this significant, is once again why Republicans lose. So what's the latest, your thoughts on the whole thing?
So the backstory on this is that we got to this point because there's a small group of members of Freedom Caucus, basically the board, the leadership Freedom Caucus, and I'm one of them, have been invited on a regular week, every week, to have dinner with the most conservative senators. And we have dinner with Senator Rick Scott, Mike Lee, Ron Johnson, and usually they'll bring in like Ted Budd or somebody else. And so we have dinner and we strategize together. This is totally changing the dynamic in D.C. because the leadership in the House and leadership in the Senate, usually they're the ones that everybody relies on communicating with each other back and forth. But by us creating an open channel and strategizing, we were able to come up with this plan. And that is that if we could, the Senate was asking, they said, if you guys could send us over one or two bills that are 20% issues. In other words, 80% of the public supports it. These are conservative wins for us. And it's extremely popular. It'd be really hard for the Democrats to defend it. Then they think that they can compel a actual standing filibuster over the Senate, and that's what they want to see happen. So
now,
sorry
to interrupt, but the filibuster situation is so misunderstood, and you and I have talked about this, and all the talk about getting rid of the filibuster, the remedy is to actually have a filibuster and we don't. But you mentioning the standing filibuster, explain to people that situation.
Yes. In the state filibuster, that's where you actually have to stand and talk. The way that, Mr. Smith goes to Washington, that's the way he did it. That's the way we do it in the Missouri Senate. If you're going to try to stop a bill, you actually have to stand up on the floor and talk until they lay the bill over or you give up. And it's exhausting for both the majority and for the people that are doing the filibuster. It's exhausting for the majority because if the person doing the filibuster wants to, they can call what's called a quorum call. In other words, they'll say, I notice an absence of a quorum, and then they will ring the bell and cause everybody to have to come to the floor. And then once there's a majority of people on the floor, then you're forced to continue your filibuster. That's because of that makes it hard on the majority, but not as hard because they don't have to stand and talk. They just have to show up and show their face.
It actually takes effort.
It takes effort on both sides. And that's why what happened is, I don't remember the exact year, but I think it's about 50 years ago, the Senate decided that was too much work in the U.S. Senate. And so they decided to go to a 60-vote cloture, which is basically the previous question motion, that would just be the threshold that if you don't have 60 votes, then you don't have to filibuster. You just tell the clerk
Right.
and let the leader that you don't have 60 votes, and therefore the bill is dead. But nobody has to step out and publicly
Right.
say, I oppose this bill. And they don't really have to do their job. This is why you have 80-year-old people working in the Senate, U.S. Senate, because they don't have to stay up late at night. They don't have to go filibuster. They physically don't have to do anything. So what we're doing is we're trying to force that to happen, for that to change, and for leadership to force the talking filibuster once again. And one of the ways that we're planning to do it, and the strategy we came up with, is that we take an existing Senate bill that came over, strip it down, throw on. Now Mike Moon would hate this. By the way, Mike Moon would hate this. But in the federal Constitution, there isn't anything related to germaneness or
Right.
single topic bills, and so he might be fine with it. But at the end of the day, you strip it out, and then you put in what we're going to do is the Save America Act, and then send it back to the Senate. And at that point, you're skipping half of the filibuster. So their steps are cut in half, and the Democrats would still have an opportunity to filibuster, but not near as long.
Got it.
And
Now,
so that's the goal.
if you would, just for people wondering, you say Mike Moon would hate this. Why is that?
Because in the Missouri Constitution, we have provisions that say that a bill, when it's first filed, cannot basically stray too far from its original topic,
Right.
from its original title. And then the other thing is that any amendments really need to be germane to the topic of the bill. So that's why a lot of times in Missouri, lawmakers will stretch that, and they will put in things that are kind of on topic with the bill, but not really.
Right.
Or they'll change the title of the bill in order to make those things fit in. And the courts have ruled that unconstitutional. But that does not exist in the in the U.S. Constitution.
We're talking with Congressman Burleson. Now, this particular act, does it have provisions in it other than the photo ID component?
So I had a conversation this weekend with some conservatives, including the senators and some White House staff, and I was stressing the point: we need to put more than what we're putting in there. We need to put more, because we're going to have to negotiate. And this is what's really interesting, Nick, because no one has really filibustered in the Senate, and the staff don't even know either. No one really knows what it's like to go through a real filibuster. And while I don't know the Senate rules in the federal level as much as I do in the Missouri rules, I was explaining how the strategy works and how the real human dynamic is what's really going to happen. And because what I said to them is that you think that the way this is going to work is the bill is going to be on the floor, and the Democrats are just going to eventually give up and tire out and break, and then you'll pass exactly what's in the bill. But that's not going to happen. What will happen is, I said, everyone's going to be looking for the exit ramp, because it's a painful process. And when during that process, Chuck Schumer and their people, their base is going to be demanding that they walk away with a win. You have to have something that you're willing, or things you're willing to give up in order to satiate the opposition, right? And so to do that, you need to pad the bill. You need to put in more than what you actually really want to pass. And so that's my view. And so what they have right now is they're putting in the voter ID, and they're putting in the requirement that you have to prove you're a citizen to register to vote. What they're not putting in, that I really think they should, is that you need to be a citizen to be counted in the next census.
Yeah. Well, and that is massive, and we've talked about this before, but without going too far into it, for people that don't understand, the reason that is significant is because currently, when it comes to the proportioning out the congressional seats, it's based off of population, and currently illegals get counted in that. And I've read that the estimates are because of that, Democrats have 20 seats that they would not otherwise have simply because of that aspect.
Right.
So even if people who are in this country illegally aren't voting, they still have a real life impact, and they disenfranchise the power of the vote because, for example, when it comes to the electoral vote, based also off of that population, if California keeps funneling in illegals and you have a shift of a member of Congress from Missouri, for example, over there in order to accommodate for their increase of population based off illegals, then that means we lose a vote when it comes to the presidential election, and California will gain one because of illegals, and they're 20 up because of that, according to some estimates, and it's one of the reasons that is so important. I want to ask you, again, we're talking with Congressman Burleson, you note the effort to have an actual filibuster needed to occur. What has to happen for that to come into play? Like, what needs to occur for him to actually start doing a real filibuster in the Senate?
So that part is a little fuzzy to me, but what I read from some staffers who have worked in the Senate who wrote a white paper on this is that you need to have the Senate, the clerk be instructed, to not basically lay the bill over, that you ignore that and you go to debate. And then B, it apparently has something to do with the timing in which they call the roll. And so if they want to protect the minority, they will slow walk the roll call vote or vice versa. I can't remember. But that there's a couple of basically instructions that this president of the Senate has to give the clerk on how to operate the Senate floor and what to accept and what not to accept that have to happen.
Okay. So what do you think the likelihood of all of that coming into play is?
I think maybe we have a 40% chance.
Okay. Well,
that's my guess.
All right.
Because I'm kind of, the more I'm in DC, the more I lose hope.
Right.
I'll get hope, like maybe, just maybe. Yeah. And then I get completely squashed.
Well, and again, to reiterate why it is that Republicans lose enthusiasm amongst the base is because this is clear. I mean, how many other issues do you have? 73% of Democrats support this. And if Republicans in the Senate cannot arrange for something that overwhelmingly everyone in terms of voters agree on, then it makes Republican voters go, what's the point? I mean, there is no point.
The polling that we sat through yesterday, they had these election integrity issues. They were polling at about 75%. But you know what polls higher? What's even more popular is healthcare reform. Healthcare reform right now, Republican and Democrat, is polling in the 80s. I mean, everybody, Republicans and Democrats, all know the system has to be fixed.
Right.
And there's actually a number that I saw that if you surveyed Republicans and Democrats, 80%, or it's like maybe 79%, will say throwing more taxpayer dollars at the problem will not fix the problem.
Well, that's positive that people are enlightened to that fact because it seems as if even when people say that, it's so easy to make them believe, oh no, that is the answer, which of course just makes the problem worse. All right, anything else before we let you go this morning?
No, those are going to be the hot issues. I'm trying to push the healthcare topic to the forefront because a lot of people don't want to do anything about it. They really don't want to touch the subject out of just because it's a painful experience. They are hesitant because they think we may lose and not accomplish it, and then would disappoint people. Well, I think you disappoint people by not even trying.
Yeah. Oh, I did want to ask you before you go. The Clinton deposition situation, of course, the subpoenas, they ignored them. There was, so we're moving towards a full vote on contempt, and then they agreed to dates. Now, the day after those dates were announced, I think the 26th and 27th, with Bill and Hillary respectively going to testify, I declared that in all likelihood this was just a delay tactic, that they would suddenly come up with some new requirement and they would try and put the burden on Republicans, making it seem like they were trying to stop it. And I mean, within 24 hours, we shifted from, they now they want it to be public. And it just, all of
Right.
this seems to me, it's so typical Democrat and slash Clinton way of
It's
trying to prevent these things from actually occurring. So what do you think about all of it?
it's Slick Willie all over
Yeah, I
again,
know.
right? So what we are going to do is force them to come in to a filibuster. The really, Chairman Jamie Comer is doing a great job. He did this with Hunter. Hunter wanted the public
Right,
filibuster,
same thing.
and that's never been how we do these subpoenas.
Yeah.
When you subpoena somebody, you always bring them in under a private deposition, and then if you want to and they want to, you do the public hearing at a later date.
And if you
But and the reason is
yeah,
that
good.
the reason is that in the private deposition, it's led by attorneys, and it's led by attorneys from the Republican side and the Democrat side. These are the smart people. These are people that are prosecutors. They know how to do an interrogation or an interview, and lawmakers are politicians.
Right.
So I have to admit, like I am not trained to do what they're trained to do, and so. But what it does, if you're going to do a public hearing, you need the deposition in order to base your questions. So you need to read through what they said in the deposition so you could ask intelligent questions in a public setting. But they just want to have, if by going directly to the public hearing, they just want to win over. They're going to have their members have their 5 minutes to blast Donald Trump, and then we'll have our 5 minutes to blast the Clintons, and it'll just look like monkeys throwing feces. Is what they. But that's what they want.
Yeah. Congressman Burleson, thank you, sir. Always appreciate your time. Oh, and
Thank you. Have a great day.
and want to remind people that your folks will be doing a breakfast at Scramblers again this Friday. Folks that show up and have a bumper sticker get free breakfast, and if they don't have one, then you all will get them connected up with one.
Yes, we will provide the bumper sticker and a T-shirt.
Okay.
So if you want to stick it to the left, get a Burleson bumper sticker. There's nothing that does it better.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 74. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 49. For Tuesday, cloudy skies with a high near 68. And for Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high near 58. And Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air, winter, it can be kind of deceptive sometimes. It's actually really nice right now, and that makes it really easy to put things off. But this is actually the perfect time to pay attention to your heating system because, hey, you never know if and when winter is going to pop back up. But it's also a great time to also start thinking ahead to spring. When you take care of your system now, you are setting yourself up to just stay comfortable year round. And that is why I trust Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air. They offer annual maintenance programs to help you stay warm in the winter, cool in the summer without that stress of last minute repairs. They service multiple types of heating systems and they work on both residential and commercial systems. So if it is time to have the Foreman team out to your home, reach out to Russell today. You can find all of the contact information for Foreman Mechanical Heating and Air under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at KSGF.com.
A couple of opportunities for you to win some stuff. We have Lunch Bunch with Godfather's Pizza every Wednesday. If you would like to join us for lunch at the Springfield Godfather's location for the all-you-can-eat, totally awesome, best ever pizza buffet and salad bar, then go to KSGF.com, get registered. If you win, you and 5 of the folks of your choosing will join us for lunch on a Wednesday. You'll be contacted if you win. Also, Vineyard Market they're doing a big, well, I say big, it's actually intimate, Valentine's Day focused special, not just on Saturday, Valentine's Day, but also on Friday, because for a lot of people, this is the convenient aspect of having Valentine's Day on the weekend is you can have a couple of different nights, Friday and Saturday, as oftentimes. If you want to do something a little special, reservations may be difficult to come by. And I know a lot of you had reached out, and I talked about this last week, about a happy hour this month. And, we just had happy hour we just got off track because of Christmas and the new year of our traditional first Friday of the month. And if we had done it the first Friday of February, it would have been just 2 weeks after the last one. And it just, I don't know. But because of a number of other things going on with them and us in February, doing it in February, it's like, oh, well, we're going to be in the exact same cycle if we wait until after this upcoming weekend. And we'll just be a couple weeks away once again from the first. So our next happy hour is going to be the first Friday in March. That being said, we still wanted to, as did Vineyard Market, to do something or just be involved in some capacity. And so they are going to give away to one of you a dinner for 2 on Friday, which is the 13th. And it is a Valentine's dinner. It's a 3-course chef-curated dinner. Beginning with an additional, I don't even know what that word is.
I don't either. So it's fancy.
Amuse-bouche, A-M-U-S-E. I should know. My wife, if she's listening, she'll be ashamed of me for not knowing this. Simply by extension of her because of the work that she does. Amuse-bouche and thoughtfully paired wines designed to enhance each course from the first sip to the final bite. Every detail crafted to be savored side by side. So if you want an opportunity to win that dinner for 2 at Vineyard Market, you can register for that also at ksgf.com. Registration will go through Wednesday, and then we'll draw on Thursday. That way you will know well ahead of time for Friday, in which that will be. And we'll need to find out if there's a specific time, how that is going to work exactly. But that being said, that registration is there. You can go ahead. When I talked to Heather over there Thursday night about this, and at that point there were still some openings for Valentine's Day itself. I don't know if that is still the case. You can go to their website and seek out that information, and I think it's even expanded. Did you look at this? Did you notice this? I want to say the actual Valentine's night is a 5-course meal. So it's enhanced a bit, I believe. But it was very that one usually fills up pretty quickly. as of Thursday. She said there's still some availability there. Whether it's that or Friday, you're interested in going ahead and making a reservation for yourself, you can go to their website in order to do that. Otherwise, get registered to win a Friday night dinner for two, that 3-course meal for Valentine's Day with Vineyard Market at ksgf.com. We're talking about the voter ID and citizenship situation earlier with Congressman Burleson, and the left is trying to characterize this as Trump is trying to federalize elections. Now, let me get this here. Just so you understand, and I know many of you do, the Democrats actually did try to federalize elections when Nancy Pelosi was Speaker of the House. And among other things, they attempted to make it illegal for any state to require ID or proof of citizenship. They also attempted through their legislation, which was H.R. 1, For the People Act, to require states to accept ballots that come in late, mandate every state accept mail-in voting, and override all of the state voter ID laws. What the Trump and the Republican plan here is simply saying when it comes to federal elections, you got to be a citizen. And you have to have a form of identification proving that. Some of the confusion when it comes to who has jurisdiction when it comes to this stuff is because of the fact that we vote on different elections on the same ballots. So, for example, when November of 2028 comes along, you're going to go and there'll be the president on there. There'll be, for a lot of people, U.S. Senate. There will, for everybody, be Congress. But there will also be races that are state races. There will be state Senate. There will be the gubernatorial race. Now, when it comes to those particular races, like your local state rep, that stuff is set up and decided by the individual state. Eligibility, for example. How old do you have to be? Are there any other sort of requirement? So the requirement to be a state senator in Missouri is potentially different than New Jersey and California. But when it comes to the U.S. Senate and when it comes to Congress in Washington, D.C., or the U.S. House of Representatives, those things are determined, those requirements by, well, much of it, the Constitution. Federal elections. There is authority that is constitutionally given to Congress. Now, again, not necessarily when it comes to the state races, but when it comes to the federal elections. Now, what the Democrats attempted to do with their H.R. 1, known as For the People Act, is take over and just strip the states of any rights that they had when it came to running their elections within their own states. That's not what this is. This is specifically for the purposes of the federal elections. Now, part of it, and just because they keep characterizing this as, it's unconstitutional, it's unconstitutional. The election clause reads as follows, quote, "The times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives," talking in D.C., federal, "shall be prescribed in each state by the legislature thereof, but the Congress may at any time by law make or alter such regulations except as to the places of choosing senators." So not only is the attempt by Republicans to make sure a person who is voting for a U.S. member of Congress, a citizen, that's not only not unconstitutional, it is specifically allowed in the Constitution for Congress to make those rules and regulations. There is obviously, as usual, a very clear disinformation campaign that is out there by Democrats. And as it's been noted, this has even been brought up over the Sunday morning shows with Democrats, that 80+% of Americans support this. 70+% of Democrats support it. You observe that, and it's easy to scratch your head and to think, why would Democrats be on the, quote, losing side of this? Yet another 80-20 issue. Why would they choose to be on the side of the 20% who probably are only the 20% because they just do whatever the Democrats say anyway? So it's not as if they would lose the support of the 20% if they were for voter integrity. This is a reflection of where the Democrat Party is today. And that is a party that has recognized that they cannot win on the issues, and so they have pretty much abandoned that. Because any sort of potential political loss that would come along with being against voter integrity, it's a mathematical equation to them, is they gain it back plus more by having illegals in this country able to vote. And this is, they've just got to be opposed to this, even if they lose. But if they somehow block this voter integrity enhancement that makes it more difficult for people who are in this country illegally to vote, which they do currently, and even the media has to admit that, but they play this game, well, it's not that many. Oh, that's how that works? If they are able to successfully block this from occurring, any sort of potential political hit they may take for it, they look at it as okay, fine, who cares? Because look at all the illegals that maybe not this election or the next election, but this is going to pay off in the end because they can't win on the issues any longer. So they have to win by rigging the system. And the importation of illegals in this country is one of the ways that they do that. And they've just become more and more brazen about it. This is also why they have openly demanded, in exchange for not blocking funding of Homeland Security, Republicans agree to stop ICE from being around polling areas. Well, there's only one reason that you would demand that. And that is because you anticipate and want illegals to show up at the polls. You certainly don't want them scared away. The party that once upon a time claimed that they were opposed to the idea and even would become indignant, how dare you suggest that we want illegals voting, are fully attempting to block laws that prevent it from occurring, and they are pushing for laws that will help facilitate illegals voting. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. I want a great homeloan.com. Any home loan needs that you may have, the characters are there. Even if, as Alex explained this past week, maybe you're not ready right now, but to get that process done, get the I don't want to say busy work because it is meaningful, but it does take time when you want to go through that home loan process and to see what it is you're pre-approved for. You've got to so far back your checking account and sort of assets, your debt to income ratio. There's just a lot of different things that are involved in terms of gathering information in order to do that. But in addition to that, and I've used myself as an example in the past, they can look at it and go, okay, well, here's your credit score. But if you actually pay off this credit card, just not the whole thing, but put $500 down, that is going to put your debt to income ratio in a level that will bring your credit score up a bit, which will help when it comes to interest rates. And so doing that also ahead of time, as opposed to, we found a house that we like and we want to put in an offer, but then you have to go through all of that and maybe it takes days, particularly if you're going to improve your credit score. It could take as long as a week, and then somebody else swoops in and gets it. So Alex was talking about, you get that stuff done now, so then when the moment does come, it's all done, and you can pull the trigger, and that day you're ready to put an offer on the home that you find. I want a great homeloan.com because you do. One of the stories that's circulating, and this is consistent with Democrats, and it's not even a hypocrisy. It's a demonstration of how dishonest they are when it comes to the photo ID situation. Fox News reporting Senator John Ossoff, Democrat, Georgia, requiring attendees at a campaign event this past Saturday to show government-issued photo ID while he's out there claiming that that's Jim Crow 2.0 when it comes to voting. These people are they're just, it's not even clever lying. This is the 5-year-old who has cookie crumbs all over his face, literally the hand still in the cookie jar, claiming that he's not taking cookies from the cookie jar. Democrats running around claiming that requiring a photo ID is racist because black people don't hold and possess the intellectual capacity to know how it is to get a photo ID, yet they require it for their own events. The question should be asked of the Ossoff campaign and Senator Ossoff himself, why is it that you are banning black people from your campaign events? Why are you blocking with Jim Crow 2.0 regulations people of color from coming to your campaigns and your campaign events? That's the question that should be asked. Accept the premise that they put forth regarding racism with the requirement of photo ID and present the question based off of that premise. And this isn't anything unusual. The DNC requires for their events photo ID. Democrats always require photo ID because they are utilizing you people on the left as useful idiots when they tell you that this is a racist policy. Couple of updates on Democrat activists being arrested for threatening or attempting to murder Republicans in Toledo, Ohio. An Ohio man indicted by a federal grand jury just last week for threatening to murder Vice President J.D. Vance. The Justice Department reported that 33-year-old Shannon Mothry, charged with threatening to kill Vance while the vice president was visiting Ohio last month. According to the indictment, he said that he was going to find Vance and, quote, use my M14 automatic gun and kill him, end quote. He was arrested by Secret Service on Friday. His attorney argued that due to health challenges, it was unlikely that he would have been able to physically carry out the threat. Meanwhile, a Maryland man attempted to kill a Trump official to prevent, quote, fascist takeover. Gee, now, where possibly would this Democrat activist have gotten in his head that the Trump administration was fascist and needed to be taken out by, quote, any means necessary, words specifically used by Democrats. Hot Air reporting his name's Colin DeMarco. He's 26 years old. Last August, he left his home in Rockville, Maryland, made his way to the Virginia home of Trump OMB director Russell Voigt. 2 weeks ago, he was arrested, and now he's been charged with attempted murder, according to the criminal complaint, which was drafted by an Arlington County police officer. DeMarco was captured on a Ring doorbell camera at the front door of Voigt's Arlington home on August 10th, wearing gloves, a backpack, sunglasses, and a surgical mask. He also was seen looking through Voigt's mailbox, and he approached a neighbor to ask if anyone was home. The neighbor told investigators that DeMarco appeared to have a gun tucked under his shirt. Eventually, he said that he went to Voigt's home because he wanted to confront him about Project 2025. Do you know that is still a thing? Friday? Was it? Yeah, it was. I think, yeah, it was Friday. Out in front of the VA, I see it's one of the favorite places for these left-wing lunatics to protest. They still have Project 2025 signs up. Still. Like, you guys live in this complete bubble. And it is that disinformation about the Project 2025 that caused this individual to go to the home of a Trump administration official's home to try and murder him. He denied having a gun or any intent to harm anyone, however. He also told agents that the November 24 election was the lowest point of his life, and he feared impending war and a fascist takeover again. Where possibly could this left-wing activist have gotten such an idea? He also identified himself as a fan of Luigi Mangione. This is the left-wing activist that murdered the CEO of that health insurance company that is celebrated by so many people on the left, because this is what you do when in the mindset of people on the left. This is, again, the Democrats setting up good versus evil and convincing them that if evil continues to exist, and if we don't stop them at any cost, the world as you know it will cease. The fascists will take over. You'll be jailed. And so they feel compelled, just like all of these individuals, to go out and murder the people that they are told are fascist or Nazis or fill in the blank. News in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. All right, we got news, well, in 10 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. Springfield's Talk 1041, and welcome to hour number 3. My name is Nick Reed. Couple of things to note here. KSGF.com, of course, you can listen to us by way of streaming if you'd like. You can also get registered to win Lunch Bunch, Godfather's Pizza, with us on a Wednesday. All the details there. And you can register to win Sweetheart Dinner at the Vineyard Market for Friday. This is a 3-course meal, very nice. If you've not been there for our happy hours, or just on your own for a dinner or a whiskey or a wine or a cigar, it definitely is a sort of step or two above what you find in a lot of other places. And they're great folks that run the place, and they are going to have both Friday and Saturday, so the 13th and 14th, dinners that are focused on, Valentine's Day, romantic dinners. If you want to check out availability, you can do so by visiting their site, but you can also win a Friday dinner for 2, 3-course meal and wines, and it's just, doing it upright by going to ksgf.com. You have through Wednesday to get registered for that, and then the winner will be drawn, and you will be contacted on Thursday if you did win. That way you can get things set up with them for the Friday dinner. Let's see, what was I going to mention here? Oh, I've decided. I'm really glad that this deal with the Billie Eilish last week or the week before, and stolen land. No one is illegal on stolen land, and then a lot of people making the point of the reality of taking that position by declaring that they're going to move into her place. They're going to, go live with her because, hey, she can't say you don't belong here. She said this is stolen land. And then a tribe specifically was contacted or made a public statement. Yeah, that's our land that she's admitting was stolen, and noted that she hasn't really reached out to us. And then to further make the point, there was some law firm that said, hey, we'll represent them in their quest. We think that given she has acknowledged that she believes she has purchased stolen land, and the people from whom that land was stolen are like, yeah, that's ours, we think that there's really a good legal case for them to get that back, and we'll represent them. Now, it's sort of fallen off the radar. And last I saw, that particular tribe had not taken the next step of saying, yes, we want to try to get that land back. If, in fact, that is where everything ends, I don't want to hear this stuff anymore. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it from people on the left, and I don't want to hear it from tribes. Because for all of the running around, talking about stolen land, and here you have someone who acknowledges she is on, or I don't know if she's acknowledged that her property's on stolen land, but we know it, using her definition of stolen land, the tribe still exists, and if the tribe's not going to do something about it, then stop, quit your bitching. I don't want to hear any more of these acknowledgments when there is an actual opportunity for people on the left and for the victim of the stolen land, the actual tribe, to remedy things, to make right on it, and then none of the participating parties, who are the ones that are always squawking about it, actually are going to do anything meaningful about it. Shut up. Don't want to hear it anymore. It's like somebody that's constantly complaining about how they never get overtime, and they just, gripe, and then they're suddenly offered overtime, and they're like, no, you know what, I don't think I want to take it. Then shut up about it. You've had your opportunity. And you've demonstrated that you're not really that serious about it when it really comes down to it. You're fake, you're posers, you're frauds, all of you. Don't want to hear it anymore. And maybe we will hear less of it now, particularly from rich Hollywood celebrities. Perhaps Billie Eilish will be the example, like, you know what, I don't really want that sort of scrutiny. Even though it doesn't result in anything, it highlights the dishonesty of these people. Got weather coming up. Beautiful day. Looks like we may hit 70, though that is not the high. Do you know that we, on this day in the 30s, maybe?
Yes.
76?
I heard that.
It was the year Amelia Earhart, I
I heard
guess. Yeah.
state that.
Yes, this
Some great
morning.
fun fact
Yeah.
about that.
So clearly we have really made significant improvement on global warming.
It is
That we're talking almost 100 years ago that it was warmer than it is on this beautiful day that is to come.
point.
Yep, I feel like I really draw these things together. I just bring them all together, and they all come into focus and make sense. So we'll look at that weather here soon. First, the latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First, meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 74. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 49. For your Tuesday, cloudy skies with a high near 68. And for Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high near 58.
You've got Super Bowl on Sunday. The Olympics are underway, and sports and music used to be these two venues in which people were able to really come together. It was one of the great things about it. All differences were because people didn't it was just this understanding. You didn't go to a sporting event or go and enjoy music at a concert for reasons other than the art and the entertainment. And unfortunately, the left has taken these cultural areas of our country in which we coexisted peacefully and enjoyed one another as human beings, and they have destroyed that aspect of it so that they become divisive. And it's such an unnecessary shame. And there's only one reason for it. It is to divide. Now, when it comes to the Super Bowl, of course, there's the Black national anthem. No Hispanic national anthem, no Asian national anthem. There's this one race in this country that really does get a number of privileges that no other race gets. Of course, the gaslighting is we're told that is the race that has it worse than any other race in this country, though they are the race that we just give all of these little benefits. There's certain words they get to say other people don't get to say, certain lyrics they get to sing that nobody else gets to sing, clothing, hairstyles they can wear nobody else gets to wear. They get their own separate, segregated national anthem, and we're all supposed to just think it's the most wonderful thing in the world. There's so the left is so emotionally and mentally confused. They trip all over themselves in their own insults. And by that I mean, for example, one of the copy and paste, not really a meme, but just a righteous statement that I saw people on the left sharing on social media was that the same people who want a separate halftime show are the same people that felt they needed separate bathrooms and water fountains. So, in other words, if you wanted to watch a halftime show that was more pro-America, that means that you are a segregationist. You're a racist. Now, these are the same people that celebrate a Black national anthem, having a separate national anthem for people based off of color. I mean, the schizophrenic, irrational approach that people on the left take to things, you can't, as a rational person, really keep up with it because you see these complete contradictions. Separate halftime shows, what? You have to have it separate? That means you're a racist. Oh, here's the separate national anthem based off of color. Well, that's just wonderful. We should celebrate it. If you don't celebrate that separate event, then you're racist. But if you celebrate this separate event, you are racist. Now, of course, I'll speak for myself. Yeah, listen, I didn't watch any of it. We watched the Puppy Bowl for a while. My wife said, do you want? I was like, I don't really care. As I was going to bed, I flipped it on to see some of the first of the fourth quarter, in which it became very clear after the final Seattle Seahawks touchdown, the way things that were going, the inevitability of it. But so I didn't watch either halftime show. I was just watching other stuff. But if I were to watch one, it isn't racist. If you are American, to choose to watch a halftime show that you feel pretty safe and confident isn't going to trash on what you love. That doesn't make you racist. We don't have that expectation of any other country. If I'm going to perform in Germany and part of my performance, my background is trashing on Germans, telling Germans, you better learn English because that's what I'm going to be doing, whether you like it or not, and then wave flags, the American flag while I'm over there. If there are some Germans that don't like that, I would like to think I would understand that. Doesn't mean that they're racist or anti-American. It's just they're German. If I'm going to perform, for just, let's say that you've got any team whatsoever, and let's say that you're doing some sort of private performance for the Chiefs, but you go, and when you're giving your performance, it is all about celebrating some other team. Well, would that make sense? Well, no, it just doesn't make sense. For a lot of people who are Americans and they love America, it's just not appealing. The idea, it's not even a boycott thing. It's just not like, you know what, I want to watch this person that has trashed on the country, that has told me as an English speaker that in my country I'm going to have to learn his language. This is someone who has burned the American flag on stage, someone that has, declared he would never even perform in this country again, all of this different stuff. The fact that I don't feel compelled to watch that performance does not make me a racist. It makes me a normal human being. Now, if a person happens to really like his music and they also love America and they're like, well, I'll dismiss that stuff because I love the music. I get that. That makes sense. But the fact of the matter is the vast majority of people in the demographic that watch the Super Bowl don't even know who this guy is anyway. And so to then, given that there's no draw for the music itself, to expect people who love the country to want to watch something like that, it just defies human behavior. And so when an alternative is put on, and this is what the left doesn't understand, because everything the left does, it's kind of just to stick it to the other side. The reason Turning Point USA decided to put on their own performance, it wasn't to stick it to the left. It was because they recognize there are just a ton of Americans out there that would like to see a halftime show, but don't want to have to worry about being told they're trash or they're racist or that their country sucks. And so that's why they put one on. And apparently it was a really great performance. I mean, unless, of course, I saw Variety magazine. They had a headline that the real halftime show with Bad Bunny was just as great pro-America. It was the American on display. It was wonderful. Meanwhile, that other trashy Turning Point USA one was just an awful dud. It was just a MAGA gift to Kid Rock. It's just their hatred. Like, what do you care? What difference does it make to you? You may say that to people who didn't want to watch the Bad Bunny halftime show, but the difference it makes to them is what I just explained, because this is a guy that trashes on America, has said, I need to learn his way. And so that's why. I mean, he wants me to, why would I want to live? That's the difference it makes. It's not even a moral issue. It's not a boycott. It's just a matter of personal preference. Generally, people don't like to associate with people who insult them and demean them and degrade them. So when you look at it the other way, what is it that the people on the left have such a problem with? People just want to put on a performance that isn't offensive, that's, pro-America. It's, we all, it doesn't matter your political persuasion or whatever. We're just putting on, like, what possible problem can you have with that? But that's how their minds work. Everything is us versus them. Everything is tribalism. And the sheer fact that it's people that, quote, aren't like them, that have a performance in which everybody can kind of just coexist, and it's about the music and it's about the performance and everything, that makes them hate it. And what a sad way to live through life. To have the Hatfield-McCoy attitude in which you have to create these dividing lines based off of race, based off of gender, based off of LGBTQ, based off of, just anything and everything under the sun, and then force people to declare which side they're on. Which, of course, brings us to the Olympics. We got to take a break. But this insistence by the left and by the media to force athletes to declare which side they're on. To, again, take an event that has long been about, hey, we're all Americans. It doesn't matter your race, doesn't matter your background. All Americans would get together and watch the Olympics, and we would cheer for Americans, and it was all about, yay, America. And now, get that microphone in their face, and, hey, here's your opportunity to make sure everyone knows how bad America is. People on the left have become so poisonous, so toxic, and they insist on spreading it to where even the areas in which we all were able to enjoy one another and coexist, they have to inject that in there. They've got to create that hate. They have to create those divisions. And there is not a single place that the left will allow to be a place in which we can just come together and not allow the poison, not allow the divisions, but just enjoy something as human beings, whether it's music, the arts, it's sports. They cannot allow that to exist. They have to inject that cancer into everything. To the point that, what is it, like, back in the 90s, no, I'm in high school in the Olympics, and what was it? And prior to that, any talk about the Olympics, what was it about? It was about the performances. How many gold medals do we have? In the 80s, did you see Mary Lou Retton or Greg Louganis? Or, in the 90s, the Carrie Shrug or whatever her name was, and there was that slate of girls that, I remember we're in high school and we go to my buddy's house to watch it, and it didn't matter. Democrat, Republican, left, right, gay, straight, none of that was relevant. Everyone talked about, oh, did you see this? Did you see that? It was about the performance. And what is all of the coverage about now? What have they turned it into? Virtually every single article out there. Oh, well, this athlete talked about how bad it is to be LGBTQ in America. Well, this athlete said this and that. And now, Trump is asked about it. And so it's all nastiness. Thank you, people on the left, for taking the pockets of harmonious culture that we had left in this country and completely poisoning it with your toxicity. Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. You got a home to sell or a home to buy. Maybe trying to navigate doing it at the same time. Your absolute go-to, 100%. And it isn't just that she is great at what she does. She loves what she does. But she is the person that has all of these different connections. And one of the themes that we hear so often from people that have utilized her services is that not only was she helpful in navigating through the negotiations and really being their great defender and proactive in that, but when it came to any sort of upgrades that were needed to be done to the house, oh, there's an offer, but they want the sidewalks repaired and they want this, and you like, gosh, I mean, I don't know really who to use. She knows all those people. She has all those contacts. And because of the high volume of experience she has with people in these industries, because of the volume of people, that she deals with on a day-to-day basis, she knows who's good, who's reliable, who's not going to take advantage of you. And knowing someone that has those connections can make all the difference in the world. Buying homes, selling homes. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see sunny skies with a high near 74. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 49. For your Tuesday, cloudy with a high near 68. And for Wednesday, mostly sunny skies with a high near 58.
One of the Olympians, Team USA figure skater Amber Glenn, hard time for LGBT community under the Trump administration, and now she's just shocked. She said, "I can't believe how much of hate I've gotten. I'm going to step away from social media." And she said, "quote, it's been a hard time for the community overall with this administration. It isn't the first time we've had to come together as a community and try and fight for our human rights, and now especially it's not just affecting the queer community but many other communities." Now, what the media never does whenever you have a person like this make a statement like this is to ask, what rights have you lost? I follow this gal on social media. I forget her name, but she's a lesbian. And she's sort of I guess, a lesbian activist, but she's not deranged. And she's not delusional. And she used to be a left-winger, and she started sort of recognizing the realities of how it is that the left attempts to use the LGBT community as useful idiots, and how so much of the things that they constantly they scare the LGBT community into compliance. And she began to realize that all of these things, these threats that they would make, about, oh, Republicans and Trump, they're going to do this if you don't support us, that none of these things actually ever happen. And one of the things that she does on social media, I tried to find, I don't know how to find on Facebook who you're following. I'm following her. But I tried to find it, and she pops up often, and so that's how I don't go to her page really, but go through her different videos, but they populate my feed often because I follow her, or liked her, friended her, or something. I don't know. And she will go again. She's lesbian. She's a Trump supporter. She will go to these different LGBTQ events, and anytime anyone makes a declaration that is similar to the Olympic figure skater Amber Glenn, who, by the way, is a pansexual queer, I think, whatever, she will ask them for examples. Well, it's just a real dangerous time right now, and we just really, Trump's we're losing our rights, and so she asked, well, as a lesbian, or if they're transgender, as this or that, as a gay American, what rights have you lost under Trump? And in the dozens and dozens of times I have seen her ask that question, never once has any of them been able to give an example. And you can see they're kind of, like they're thinking about it for the first time. Think about that for a moment. Your entire social movement is based off of this idea that when you were just asked the simple question of, well, give me an example of what it is that you were talking about, and they can't even do it because they don't have any. And oftentimes they'll admit, like, well, God, it's so funny how these patterns repeat themselves. If there's more than one, oftentimes they look at each other and, well, you go first, and, well, God, I guess I can't actually think of any right now. Oh. Sometimes they say, well, we haven't yet, but that's why we got to stick together to make sure it doesn't happen. You talk about fear for the sake of fear itself. I think of the M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Village, in which you've got the sort of the council, if you will, that have this stated goal of this closed society, this bubble for all of them to live in. This cultural bubble away from society. And the way that they get all of the people in the village to voluntarily comply with being inside this bubble is by scaring them into believing that if they go outside and that there are these creatures out there, and they create all of these little virtue signaling actions they can take to protect themselves, like red, the color red keeps the monsters away, and that's how they force that compliance, because of fear, getting these people to believe, well, we have to stay here in the village. We must obey what the village elders tell us, and you don't question it because they're the one. They wouldn't lie to us. And, of course, eventually what occurs is you've got the storyline of some of them beginning to question whether or not they really are in danger if they go beyond the forest wall. And so that is where the conflict, eventually comes into play. And when I see that storyline, that movie, that message of the people in charge using fear not intellectual discussion, not ideas, not debate, but fear. If you don't comply with what we tell you, if you don't listen to us and do what we say, there are really, really bad guys out there that will kill you. And that's how the Democrat Party operates today. That's how you end up with people constantly at these different, LGBT communities events. These activists that are, Donald Trump. We just gotta, our rights are going to be taken away. We're going to be thrown into camps. All of these, to the person on the outside, think, how do you believe that? Are you absurd? He's been president before. None of that stuff actually happened. And if they get asked, which, again, the media never does that, which tells you how bad our media is. Instead, the only place you can see examples of this is when you have people that are social media reporters or journalists or whatever they call themselves, that the people that the media dismiss as not real journalists, they're the only ones that actually ask these questions. The so-called real journalists, they never ask the question, well, can you give us an example? I mean, here you have someone that is enjoying the privilege of being an American on the world stage. And I'm sure because of this specific statement, she already is getting endorsement offers to come in. Although we've learned that corporations, by, I think, a drop of 65%, they're not so proactive in throwing themselves at this sort of thing any longer because they've recognized the reality of the landscape. And but you still do, win a lot of favor by taking these public stances. She's only going to benefit from it. She lives in a country in which LGBTQ, beyond any other country, is maybe Israel, ironically, given Queers for Palestine. Yet in her mind, she's been brainwashed to believe that there's no place that it's more dangerous to be LGBTQ than America today. Like, if that were true, you would not be coming back to this country after saying that on foreign land. And, I go back to the earlier point of how the left has to poison everything with divisiveness. And the Olympics, once upon a time, Amber Glenn, any sort of conversations or media coverage of Amber Glenn would have been Americans across the political spectrum, the gender spectrum, the ethnic spectrum, would be talking about her performance and all of the work that she went through and talking about the stories. Yeah, did you see the little bio? And starting at the age of 5, she was getting up at 3 a.m. Nope, now, because of her, it's about LGBTQ stuff. That's what these people, sadly, reduce themselves to. Instead of the focus and the attention being about the tremendous amount of work that they have gone through, the dedication that the vast majority of human beings can never even begin to recognize or understand, and Americans being inspired by that, world people being inspired, world citizens being inspired by that, and just thinking, oh my gosh, that is such an amazing thing. Nope. Amber Glenn turns herself into this one-dimensional activist that is spouting off rhetoric that is inconsistent with reality, a behavior that anyone can do. Nothing special about it. Can be done by the laziest people in existence, and that is sadly what somebody like that reduces themselves to, being viewed as. What a shame, given the incredible, actual, meaningful, real-life accomplishments that the left take these people and get them to voluntarily strip themselves of all of that. It's sad. Springfield's Talk 1041, I'm Nick Reed. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah Myers.
Ooh, I liked that. That was real fancy.
Save them.
I like it. The Pyramid Roofing Company, they're great at what they do. Corey wrote, 5 stars are not enough. Pyramid Roofing, they have gone out of their way to help us, from offering to tarp our roof to prevent any further damage, to nailing a few shingles down until the new roof could be installed, to following up to ensure the installation was precise. The roofers also installed drip edge flashing on our shed for free to go above and beyond. The roof was installed with care, and they even installed additional soffit vents as our old roof didn't have enough to vent the attic properly. This is our second home to have a roof installed by Pyramid Roofing, and our experience with this company will always have us referring friends, family, and neighbors. Thank you again, Pyramid Roofing. And honestly, that is what you can expect from Josh and his team. They are always upfront and honest about the work that needs to be done, and they really do try to make that roofing process as stress-free and as simple as possible. If it is time to have the Pyramid team out to your home, reach out to Josh today. You can find all of the contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at KSGF.com.
I think this might be the first year, and this is just my experience, it's my truth, that I have seen zero chatter or talk about Super Bowl commercials.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Now, there was a huge, it seemed like the 90s and into the aughts that was like the overriding theme. And as time went on, it diminished to some degree because you would have these advertisers release the commercials early on social media. And so there wasn't, it was kind of a slow rollout instead of the big bang of the night where everyone's watching for the commercials. And so that almost like Black Friday, it flattened the curve of chatter and talk. But it seemed as if there's always been some, even ahead of time. But I go back to these decisions to pick individuals to be part of an event, individuals that you know are divisive, and what does it draw the attention to? All the divisiveness. So instead of the game itself and the excitement and the young quarterbacks and the, fact that the Chiefs aren't in it again and all of the things that could be focused on and the commercials, it's just all the negative stuff. And this is what they've done. But yeah, I haven't, not a single thing about commercials. And I'm sure there is some stuff out there. I haven't seen it, but it's just been so prevalent in the past, even as it's diminished, even if you're not seeking it out. You can't help but avoid it. I found this article I mentioned earlier. White saviors' use of whistles causes bitter internal rift inside anti-ICE movement. Immigrant groups have a message for their mostly white allies. Quit blowing the whistle on ICE. Fox News Digital reviewing days of messages inside Signal chat rooms that reveal a new internal feud has erupted inside the anti-ICE protest industry, pitting immigrant-led organizations against predominantly white, quote, rapid response networks that have made whistleblowing a dramatic part of anti-ICE protest. In one dismissal, a, quote, rapid responder in Seattle reported back that immigrant networks are being weird. Is this not typical liberals? The great saviors, they have to tell you brown people how to properly behave, and now you're being all weird about this stuff. Groups from Seattle to Montgomery County, Maryland, telling mostly white rapid responders to back off, a dynamic described by activists as white savior, reminding them that they are not cameo actors in an action movie against ICE. This past week in the Washington Immigrant Solidarity Network, known as WAISN, WASN, a Seattle-based immigrant-led organization, publicly rebuked the practice of whistles, setting off a backlash inside the mostly white liberal activist rapid response circles. Quote, why is WASN rapid response or why WASN rapid response does not use whistles, the group wrote in an Instagram post emphasizing we show up with care and accountability, not noise or panic. It's not about being the loudest, the bravest, or the most visible person on the scene or confronting immigrant agents. It is a commitment to nonviolence, discipline, and harm reduction, centering the well-being of the most vulnerable immigrants and refugee committees in Washington. The Post continued. The message amounted to a blunt directive, put away the whistles. And so what you essentially have here is this growing conflict within these different protests. And if you notice, whenever the mostly peaceful people turn not peaceful, who are they? They're white liberals, usually white women. And so increasingly you have the immigrant community, the brown people that are in these signal chat groups in which they're communicating with each other, telling them, stop the way you're doing it. This isn't a movie. This isn't about you. All you're doing is causing more harm than good. And guess what? As usual, the white liberals just don't understand why the brown people can't understand that what they're doing is for them. Just like when they insisted that Latinos and Latinas start dismissing their culture of generations and referring to themselves as Latinx. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Now, there are numerous, particularly European countries, that are currently dealing with all sorts of immigration issues. Some, the government's cracking down on the citizens. Some, they're cracking down with conflicts with law enforcement, with the immigrants. But I've noticed reporters aren't asking Olympians from those countries to comment on the political state of affairs in their country. It's almost as if it really isn't about